I don't know. Maybe this is as good as DC Extended Universe is gonna get. I don't know, but here we go. Hello, nonsense. My name is Daidarius, and welcome to the review of Aquaman. So Aquaman is the latest DCEU movie, and since the former one was Justice League, my expectation wasn't that high, and I must say I am pleasantly surprised. But that is only because, Justice League set the bar extremely low. So what's going on in this movie? Well, basically this is the Aquaman origin storyline, but it comes afterwards the Justice League. So that's kind of confusing, and there also was some contradicting elements in there. I will get to those. But what happens is that King Orm, he is the king of Atlantis. He wants to join forces with the other, it's not called Atlantean people, the other Aquamen. There's a lot of nations below the sea, and he wants to join forces with the remaining 6 nations so he can attack and declare war on mankind, because we are polluting the waters and so on and so forth. So the Mera, if you can remember Mera, that's this woman. She was in Justice League very, very briefly when we had the scene at Atlantis, and they have met before. Clearly, we saw that in the movie, but here, well, it turns out that they haven't met before, because she comes after him because he needs to get back to Atlantis, because he needs to dethrone Orm and make sure that no war is breaking out, because apparently he is the rightful heir to the throne, because his mom was, screwing around with not the king of Atlantis, but she was the queen of Atlantis, so he is the oldest. Anyway, moving on. So he needs to challenge Orm to the rights to the throne, so war won't break out. So she takes him on a journey to find Poseidon's trident, because that's the only weapon apparently strong enough to defeat Orm, even though that they only have to fight mano a mano. But apparently he's such a good fighter that we need the powerful trident of someone. Poseidon? No, did I say Poseidon's trident? It's not Poseidon's trident. Anyway, it's the trident of Atlantis, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. The trident of Atlantis. And that is basically the movie. I mean, there's more shit going on in this one, but it's not really that important, because what you need to know is Aquaman and Mera are going on a treasure hunt to find this trident so they can defeat King Orm. That is it, basically. So, what did I like about this movie? First of all, Jason Momoa is just fucking awesome. He nails this role. I mean, we haven't really seen this kind of version of Aquaman before, but it is a fresh take, and I like his charisma. Every time he's on screen, I have a big smile on my face, because he's just that charming. Every time he cracks a joke, it feels genuine. It is funny, and the way he interacts with Mera is quite enjoyable, even though that love story is bullshit. But I'm gonna get to that later on. And he does give a genuine performance in here, and I actually like him. And then speaking of Mera, I also like her character. She is funny and she is strong, and her interaction with Arthur, Jason Momoa's Aquaman, is enjoyable, to say the least. And she stands her own ground. You don't feel like she is a dame in distress. No, she can fight her own battle, and you kind of wonder, why wasn't she in Justice League? I mean, she can bend. She's a waterbender. I mean, she is a fucking waterbender, and almost as physical strong as Aquaman. At least I think. Maybe she isn't. But anyway, she is powerful as fuck, so she should have joined the Justice League. I don't know why she didn't. Anyway, her presence on screen was sorely needed, because otherwise we will get too much Jason Momoa. And I know you quite want to ask yourself, can we get too much Jason Momoa? Yes, we can, because he works best with others. And this group dynamic was excellent. And next I'm gonna talk about Orm, because Orm is actually a genuine bad guy. I mean, he's not excellent. We're not on Thanos level or Joker level or anything like that. But if you're taking a look back on every comic book villain we have had in the last 10 years, he's not that bad. I mean, he's pretty much the best bad guy in the DCEU, maybe except for Zod, but that's pretty much it. I just love his presence because, yes, he is quite of a maniac. He wants to wipe out all humankind. He's a bit of a douchebag. And the means he takes to get there is also pretty douchey. But you kind of understand his motivation and you kind of respect him because he's not just all bark, no bite. He actually knows how to fight. He can fight toe to toe with Aquaman. He might even be better than Aquaman at fighting. And he's always just first in line whenever there is a fight going on. He isn't menacing, he isn't yelling, he's just calm and collected, and you can just see there is some fierce anger burning behind that facade. But he just feels, I think real is the word I'm looking for. He feels like a real villain. And I like that. And also the effects is alright. I mean, they weren't bad or crap, but they weren't perfect either. However, there are some scenes in this movie that actually kind of takes your breath away and you just go back to your childhood awe. You know, when you see something big and shiny for the first time as a little kid and your eyes open wide and sparkle and you just open your mouth and just take in everything, just go, that does happen here a few times. And in fact, most of the time when it happens is the first time you see Atlantis, because Atlantis is a pretty interesting and excellent and just beautiful place. It's not all just a dance and rose petals. Again, I'm gonna get to that. But for the most part, when you're introduced to Atlantis, it does feel like a whole different breathing, even though they're underwater, world. And also some of the water effects are decent. However, it does suffer from the same problems that most of the other DCEU movie is, which they just put so many effects, visual effects in there that I don't know if they're overburdening themselves, but it doesn't seem like they get enough time to make sure that the effects look real and look like they're implemented correctly into the scenes. Does that make sense? Otherwise, just know this, that the effects for the most part are good. They're not great, but they're okay. And lastly, I will say that every action scene starts out great. Now, what do I mean about that? I mean that when an action scene starts, when it begins, it actually has some interesting ideas, it has some interesting locations, and it takes it in an interesting direction. And I like those aspects of the action. You don't really feel like you've seen this kind of action before in the DCEU, so that is a plus. There is a downside for this, however, and unfortunately, I have pretty much run out of great things to say about this movie. Well, the score was decent. It's forgettable as hell, but it was decent. Alright, the cons, let's do it. So first of all, let's just start with the action, because then I have to segue into it. So even though that the action starts great, it ends abruptly or just quickly becomes stale. And what I mean by that is either you have an interesting action sequence that just ends suddenly without any build-up, that this is the end of the action sequence, this is the end of the fight, this is the end of the chase or anything. It's just like it stops abruptly and then ends. Either that or the action sequence just become boring because nothing really happens. All the fun part is at the beginning and then they didn't know what to do. So what they did was they have a big bucket with some action elements in it and then they just shook it up and then pulled out some things. Okay, this guy is gonna shoot a laser beam and the girl, she's gonna make spikes with wine. Sounds pretty neat. So are we gonna make it interesting? Oh, no. And also the fact when I don't really feel like these characters are in any danger at any time. I mean, Aquaman, he takes spears, he takes laser beams to the chest and it doesn't hurt him. His skin almost never gets pierced. It only can get pierced by Atlantean weapon, but he rarely fights the Atlanteans. So that's... So anyways, the action sequence. The beginning, yes. The rest of it, nah, no. And then the treasure hunt, you know, the main point of this movie, we need to find the Triton. The treasure hunt just quickly becomes trivial. I don't know how they did it. It's a treasure hunt. You can always make great entertainment with a treasure hunt. We have seen it time and time again. Just look at these movies. It can be done. But no, because what they do is they get to one location, then quickly solve the puzzle. I mean, you don't even realize they're solving the puzzle. So they quickly solve the puzzle, gets the answer to the next place, and then they're there. And then they quickly solve the puzzle, and then they're there. And then they find the Triton. And you just go, what was the point of a treasure hunt? Then why not just say, the Triton is here, go there, and then have a movie on that journey. Or some, I don't know what, but this treasure hunt is one of the most boring treasure hunt I have ever seen put on movie. That sucks. Especially because the treasure hunt is pretty much the only thing this movie really has going for it. And yeah. And then just the beginning is, it's a mess. It's really a mess. First you have this opening scene where Aquaman narrates, and you don't even need the narration, of his parents finding each other, and then him being born, and then she's fleeing. Just the whole introduction is messy as fuck. It doesn't need to be there, except they want to set up one portion of the movie, but it is predictable as... Actually, the whole movie is pretty much predictable. You know exactly what you're gonna get out of this movie. You know where they're gonna go, you know why they're gonna go there, what's gonna happen, and then the next move. Especially the big twist at the end is no twist because you see it a mile away. And I know that most of these superhero movies are extremely predictable, but I wanted some unpredictability in them, something to surprise me or anything, but no. And just the beginning, I think the first 20 minutes or half an hour is just mush. Just scenes upon scenes thrown together just to make sure that you are ready to see this movie, but it doesn't flow, it just limps away, and you're there for the bumpy ride, and the beginning is not that great. And then there's the Trident. I mean, the Trident is supposed to be this almighty powerful weapon that they need to get, and spoiler alert, they do get it. The Trident, this all-powerful weapon, does pretty much nothing in the movie. I mean, all it really does is that it makes him able to expand his ability to speak to fish. That's it. That's all it does. He is now able to control many fish at the same time, except of just a small group of fish. I thought he'd want to be able to summon tidal waves or anything. I mean, he even did in Justice League movie where he jumped down, used his old trident to stomp into the ground, and then the water was pushed back that was going to destroy the gang. You don't see anything like that here. It's made of gold, that's pretty much it. So you don't really get why he needs to get this trident. Yes, it's kind of a symbol for the Atlanteans so he can get them on his side, but still, it's just a big fork, man. Golden fork, nonetheless, but still a fork. And then the love story. I mean, they do have chemistry, these two people. I don't mind the chemistry between these two characters. What I do mind is the progression of the love story, because it is not really there. It has very few moments thrown in here and there just to justify that these two are gonna fall for each other throughout this movie, which takes place over a day or something. Maybe it's a couple of days. I can't remember. It's just bad. I mean, it is very bad. You don't really feel there's any progression with their relationship throughout the movie from when they meet each other until now. But of course they're gonna make out in the end of the movie because we need them to make out in the movie because they are supposed to be husband and wife, because that is what they are in the comics, but you don't really have any leadway for it. You could have waited for that with the sequel, I mean, but no. This is just the cliche love story that you see in all action or big epic movies. There's no effort put into the development of the relationship. And I know that, yes, the relationship works well, but there's no development, there's no real leadway. If you don't really sit there and go slowly, yeah, they're really falling for each other. I like this. Instead of just going, you're really going for this love story? I mean, it's one scene. Yeah, they're doing it again. And then 4 hours later, oh yeah, that was a love story going there, right? Wasn't there? I've completely forgotten about that. The love story is just shit. And I can go on and on and on. So just take a quick shot round. The acting, it's not good all the way around. I mean, it really swings up and down throughout the movie. So sometimes you get some good, almost great acting, and then other times you get piss poor acting. I mean, Atlantis, for example. Yes, you see Atlantis. It is an immersive experience to see and watch Atlantis for the first time, but you see too little of it. So you don't really connect with Atlantis. It's just there for a brief moment and then on with the show. And it is a bummer because Atlantis is one of this movie's strong suits, but you don't see enough, so yeah, that's not good. You need to establish your locale and mythos, and Atlantis was pretty much your locale and mythos. You could have making sure that this movie took place only at Atlantis to have a treasure hunt throughout. I don't know, but not enough Atlantis, man. And then there's the fact that this movie is too fucking long. I mean, it's almost, 2.5, maybe 3 hours long. It's not 3 hours long, but it's definitely 2.5 hours long, maybe even more. So it is too long, but it is such a hurry. And I don't know why it needs to hurry that much. It's completely insane. I mean, how can you hurry a 2.5+ hour movie and still feel like the whole movie is rushed? I don't know. It's actually quite impressive that they managed to do that. So, but one of the reasons is that this movie has too much shit it wants to put in the movie that is not needed in the movie. So it just needs to rush through everything. For example, Mantis. He's a pretty awesome dude. I mean, he's a genuine bad guy. Not that he's that great in the movie. I mean, he's fine. You establish his motivation, but then he suddenly becomes an extreme expert on foreign technology. That's weird. But anyways, his placement in the movie is just an extended cameo. That's pretty much it. He is in the beginning, then he is in a scene in the middle, and that's it. And that's an action scene. That's it. That's all you see from him. Just because they wanted to put Mantis in there, but didn't want to give it a genuine reason. I mean, we already have King Orm. He's the main focus of this movie, and they're not really working together. So why put him there? Why not save him for the sequel? Or better yet, make sure he was the main villain in this movie. Why put unnecessary shit in your movie? Well, because we are DC. We can do that, apparently. And just to jump back on the action point that I made earlier on in this video, the end fight starts out really well. I mean, it starts off okay, but then Aquaman arrives at the scene, and then it's actually quite good. But suddenly, it stops. It was about to get good, and then everything just halts. So really, every time this movie has something going for it, it just pulls the handbrake and then gets on for the next thing. You're not really allowed to enjoy the good moments in this movie, and that's the movie's faults. That is, it doesn't really have any real substance. It just has moments. So it doesn't really feel that genuine. It's just a lot of cool moments abrupted with some shitty moments, and then the next cool moment or good moment, and that's it. And unfortunately, this movie just doesn't really have the heart with it. When you're making a superhero movie, you need the fan heart. You need the fans to make this movie. There are some fans of these comic books in the movie business. That's why most of the Marvel movies are at least fun, because fans are making them. They are in the business making them. But here it doesn't really sound like or seem like that this is made by fans for fans. So what I'm gonna say about this movie is that it does what Wonder Woman did right. It is a step in the right direction for DCEU. But every time, unfortunately, they take a step in the right direction, they immediately go in the wrong direction. It keeps zigzagging back and forth, and it's kind of a bummer because this movie did really have potential. Oh, also, just a funny thing that I noticed while watching the movie, most of the action sequences begin by one or two people conversating with each other, and then suddenly an object right beside them is gonna explode. That's how most of these action sequences start. That's just something I noticed. But anyway, this movie has a lot going for it, but it has too much going against it. And I was actually gonna give it the same rating as Wonder Woman, because I think it is as good as Wonder Woman is. But I must say that at least Wonder Woman knew how to restrict itself, and this movie doesn't. Which means that this movie is more rushed, even though it has a longer running time than Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman didn't feel rushed, it just had a really crappy third act. But that is just my opinion. So I will say that Aquaman, you should catch it on Netflix. My experience? Maybe you should just watch Justice League Unlimited. I think Aquaman is in that one. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I last saw Justice League Unlimited. I think it's 6 years ago. Aquaman, have you seen it? What did you think about it? And what is your favorite DCEU movie yet? I mean, I think still for me is Man of Steel, but that is the hard part of it. I really think that Man of Steel had the hard part down, but then it had some other issues. But anyways, whatever you think, come around me your thoughts. And as always, until I see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. Bye! So if he gets a brother, no, if he has a son, instead of Aquaman, it's just going to be called H2O Boy.